Dr. Mark Shanahan is Associate Professor of Political Engagement at the University of Surrey. Mark, good to see you. Just how much pressure is Biden now under?
Biden's under immense pressure now. He's under pressure from his party, from senior figures seeing him as being the only barrier to a second Trump presidency. He's under pressure from the media, and American elections are run on media rules, pretty much. It's not about policy, it's about personality. But most of all, he's under pressure from voters, particularly liberal voters across America, who see the Democrats absolutely needing to win in November, and Biden potentially losing them the White House, but also all the down ticket races, which could see them lose the Senate and also lose the House of Representatives. And if that goes through the line to the Republicans, who knows what a second Donald Trump presidency could bring.
Biden seems hell-bent on staying. I mean, what is behind this defiant push for running for re-election?
Stubbornness, hubris perhaps, but equally a very, very long track record of success in American politics. He's been around in office pretty much for 50 years in the Senate, and then obviously for the last 4 years in the presidency. Before that, he was vice president for Obama for 8 years. He's a guy who sees that he can get things done. He kept last night going back to his track record and the achievements that he has made in the past 3.5 years. Perhaps, though, he is the last person to be able to see his own failing faculties. And it's that stubbornness that is probably keeping him in the race and absolutely at the head of the ticket.
Ordinarily in politics around the world, the opposition would now pile in. Donald Trump's camp is surprisingly quiet on these latest gaffes. I mean, presumably they need Biden to remain. I mean, do they fear a replacement?
Up until 2 weeks ago in the first presidential debate, I think Biden was nailed on for the candidacy because he was seen as the one Democrat who almost certainly would beat Trump. Since that debate, and by not turning things round in his press conference last night, he's now probably the one candidate who has very, very little chance of beating Trump. Trump, a hugely flawed candidate himself, but at the moment he can just sit back and watch the existential drama that is gripping the Democrat Party, where unless Joe Biden chooses to step down, he's going to remain on the ticket.
So just to be absolutely clear, the mechanics for replacing Joe Biden only lie in his hands?
Pretty much so. As long as he sees himself as the best candidate for the job, he has over 98% of delegates pledged for him. Now, pledges can change, but he is expecting to go to the National Convention in Chicago next month as the presumptive candidate. And it is only him choosing to step away from that can really derail that process. That could then open it up to a number of different candidates.
Name names. Who do you see as a possibility?
The obvious one is Kamala Harris, his vice president, but she's never polled particularly well. America is a very conservative country, and are they ready for a woman president, and not least a woman of colour? Another woman who could be in the running, Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer. You could be talking about Gavin Newsom, the California governor. You could be talking about people from central government, Commerce Secretary Gina Raimondo, possibly Pete Buttigieg, who is currently the Transport Secretary. But this is pretty much uncharted territory for the party.
How unprecedented is this in US politics? I mean, you think back to the times of Ronald Reagan, obviously before an age of social media where everything was live streamed. But we have been here before in US politics, haven't we?
Well, I would think back to 1968, particularly when LBJ, Lyndon Johnson, decided that he wasn't going to run for the presidency. Then Robert Kennedy stepped forward. He was assassinated. We had a very contentious convention in Chicago, and Hubert Humphrey emerged actually fairly easily from that. But there was so much psychodrama in the Democrat Party that it actually enabled Richard Nixon to sneak in, squeak in, and land the presidency with all that's consequent issues for him.
My predecessor.
Mark, talk to you soon. Thank you very much for that. Dr. Mark Shanahan, the Associate Professor of Political Engagement at the University of Surrey.